skin lube, basically it's Vaseline. If you really need chapstick and you're in a pinch, you can use this. It's probably the best chapstick known to man. So like we were talking about before, we have them kind of bring their foot up. And so what the best placement for these are right kind of in that, that groove right there, and then on the back, right up kind of under that Achilles. Because what these do is these prevent the laces and stuff from rubbing, or the tape from bunching up, because if it bunches up and then it'll pinch. And sometimes if you pull too tight around the back, you can get cuts or blisters and things. So that's kind of what these are there for. So usually they will kind of stay in place with the lube that's on there. And it's just like downside, toilet paper roll down for this stuff. And it's the same placement with the ace wraps, that you go up to kind of the end of the calf. That's what you do. And with this you have to make sure, because it sticks to itself, so it's gonna stick there. You don't have to try and pull it and do it very tight. This is just kind of a covering for the skin, so that if we have guys with leg hair, we don't rip leg hair off, or if somebody's allergic to the tape. And so see, what I kind of do is I usually go down to about the malleolus, and then I go up here for where my anchor strip would be, just because it's a little easier directional wise, and the tape goes a little nicer. And then I like to wrap kind of figure eights around. Again, I'm not covering the heel completely, but I am covering everything else where that tape is going to sit. So let me just rip this guy off. Maybe.
Need a knife?
No. There we go.
Are you not supposed to cover the heel?
Again, you can, but I usually don't. It just kind of ends up that way. It lays a little nicer because you want it to really be flat. You don't want a ton of wrinkles everywhere, because those wrinkles, besides the fact of appearance, they can pinch. So that's kind of why we're so sticklers about no wrinkles, is because it does serve a functional purpose. So then our next step is to do anchors. So we do one at the top, just kind of underneath your pre-wrap. You can let the pre-wrap stick out a little bit, that's fine. Some people will get fussy if you do go over the pre-wrap that you're on their hair, but doesn't really matter. I mean, it looks a little nicer if it is. When you do the anchor on the bottom, you're usually going about, you want to try and be underneath the arch, because if you get it up on their arch and then you do too tight, it's gonna pinch, they're gonna get cramps in their arches, things like that. And with this anchor, it's just pretty much just placing the tape on it. You don't really pull or crank or do anything with that, again, for that arch's sake, that you don't kind of constrict it. So we start with those. Then after that, we'll do our stirrups, and we always go medial to lateral, so inside to outside. And you can kind of find the malleolus in here, and you want to kind of lay it right over top of that. Because what you're doing is these are going to be kind of your braces to hold it in place. So this is where you can kind of hold here, pull, go around, and then tear it off and kind of smooth that down. You definitely can pull a little harder with these, and because if you just lay the tape on, it's not really doing a lot. But if you're pulling, then you can do a little bit more. Then, kind of a trick that I do is I do another up top to just kind of hold those two in place, because then they don't flop around, peel off, etc. Then we go into our, I don't know what to call these, they're just kind of the strips behind for your basket weave. I usually start in the outside and go in, and you pull, and you usually do it up to where your anchor was on either side. So you kind of go around, and that's securing that heel and lace pad on the back, so that's not flopping around either. So we're going to alternate these. We do, and then you kind of go, you can overlap a little bit on the first thing that you did, but you usually do one straight on the middle, one behind, and one in front. And then you alternate again, and you do another strip down here. So this is what's called a closed basket weave because we're going to end up closing the entire thing off. If you wanted to do an open basket weave, all you're going to do is once we get to this part, you're just going to come up to halfway. You're going to leave like a strip open down the middle. And that's for if you have a really, really swollen ankle and that swelling needs somewhere to go, is the only time you would do an open basket weave. Usually kind of your normal ankle that you think of is a closed basket weave. So we've done 3 of each and we've kind of worked our way, see we worked our way down and kind of up to about here with these guys. So now we go and we get our strings off. So now we go and we close this. And with these it doesn't really matter. You're not doing them super tight, but you do want to do them snug. Once you get down here, the easiest part is to angle a little bit. So kind of end up like that on both sides. Okay, so now we're completely closed off. I usually like to do one more down here, but then right where we did that anchor, we're going to do kind of another anchor to close it. And again, that one's not pulling very hard, you're just laying it down to kind of close up those loose ends. Now the fun part, the heel locks. These are going to be another big support, so these are pretty important. The easiest way that I have learned is you kind of use your malleoli as anchors. So you start and I'll show you guys on this side with the next one, but you lay it at an angle from the malleolus. And you can come under, around, and up in each ear. So with this, and you do 2, so you do 1 on each side, kind of lay it down, down, around, up, tear. And those will probably take a little practice because usually it's really hard the first time that you get them all wrinkly, and it's all in how you lay the tape and the angles. Then to finish off, kind of the same exact placement, you do a figure 8, and it's basically going the same right over top of those heel locks, but you're doing a continuous circle. And with this one, you're not really cranking or anything. That's just kind of a closer, I guess. So does that feel stable, functional?
Yeah, the power flex slips though.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. The best way is to tape directly on the skin, but
Let's do it.
well, if you want to sacrifice your own leg hairs, that's
Can you
fine.
do another figure?
Shave our legs.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'm already missing bald
I
spots.
won't ever see
It's
this.
basically right over top, so it's like exactly like the heel locks,
My favorite one.
except you continue through.
Yeah, that
Going
hurts a
like
lot.
this, and around, and up. So, let me tear.
Jay taught us figure 8s where you start here and go through and then it's hard to repeat
These
this one.
ones?
Yeah.
Like, did he go behind, or did he go up
I
top?
went up over the top and
Like
then
that?
behind, straight across, and then over the top down that way.
Okay.
And then finish
And then
here.
up.
Yeah.
That is another way. There's lots of ways you can do these.
Yeah.
The best, when you're starting out though, you don't want to try and go, except with your figure 8s, you don't want to do anything continuously. You don't want to keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping without ripping, because sometimes you'll get a little bit too tight. I normally tape pretty loose, but
I take this too.
some people tape very tight, so.
I've seen both.
But either way, if you want to do, I'll show you those heel locks again. If you want to do those, you start up top like you're doing a stirrup. Then you go down, then you go up, across. You go back behind like
Yep,
that.
behind. Yep.
Wait.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Yep, and then down, and then up. So, either way is fine with me. Whichever way, you can try them both ways, see if you like it. Because usually I do my heel locks and my figure 8s continuously. But
After you do that heel lock, would you go around the top again to
yeah,
solidify?
I
it
probably
so the
would,
tape doesn't
just
peel?
to kind of,
Yep.
yep, just to kind of solidify everything down. But, questions? Practice, yay.